guys, so today I wanted to talk about what it's like living in different states in the US. So being in the military, well not me, but my husband being in the military, we've actually lived in 3 different states. And although I haven't really been all over the United States, I can tell you that different states are basically like different countries. Okay, maybe not like different countries, but they are vastly different. I am not trying to offend anyone because of my opinions, because there's always someone that's like, rah, rah, rah. My pride, my ego, you offended me, oh my god, I'm so upset. Anyway, I've lived in Tennessee, I've lived in Virginia, and I've lived in Maryland. And living in those 3 different places, although they're pretty close in proximity, Virginia and Maryland being, you know, stacked, Maryland's on top of Virginia, and Tennessee is like down a little bit beside Virginia, here's Tennessee, and then Maryland's up here. So although they're not extremely far apart, in fact they're pretty close, they are still extremely different. So I want to tell you guys some, you know, similarities, some differences in what I liked about different states and what I disliked about the different states. So in Tennessee, you know, I grew up there, I lived there for 20 years, and Tennessee, there's some really good things about Tennessee, there's some really bad things about Tennessee. The good thing about the people are pretty friendly, they're pretty polite, the mountains are gorgeous, you know, there's a lot of greenery, there's a lot of pretty stuff to look at, mountains, rivers, lakes, creeks, just, you know, it's a really pretty state. It's, you know, there's so much nature, there's so much to do as far as nature goes, you know, hiking, stuff like that. But when I say that the people are polite, and although they are polite when you compare the people of Tennessee to, you know, places like Virginia and Maryland, I almost want to say that it's sometimes fake, because, you know, although they're very nice, and they're nice to those around them, they're also a little bit entitled. So when something goes wrong and someone's not nice to them, or someone isn't, you know, extremely polite because they're from somewhere else, they feel entitled, you know, entitled to say something, you know, entitled to stand up for Tennessee. Oh, this is my state, oh, you should be speaking English, yada yada, you have an accent, oh my god, like, you know. Another thing that I didn't really love about Tennessee was the fact that people seem to be closed-minded and small-minded. It's mostly the Christianity thing, it's you know, it's good and it's bad. Yeah, so that's really all I have to say about that. Another thing that I noticed about Tennessee is that people are very judgmental. Kind of goes along the lines with being open-minded or closed-minded and small-minded. So when someone looks differently or acts differently, they're very judgmental about it. For example, when I had tattoos and, you know, I was kind of a young mother when my husband joined the military. So basically every decision that I made with my appearance, every decision that I made for my family, everything just seemed so judgy. Like everyone just had an opinion about it. Everyone wanted to tell me, you know, what I was doing wrong, and, you know, it was like, if you're not doing it the way I'm doing it, then it has to be wrong, right? No, not right. I hated that about Tennessee people. Here we go to Virginia. Virginia is a Commonwealth state. When there's a Commonwealth state, it means that the taxes are low to none. And so that means that the education system is probably not as good as most states. The road systems were very bad. Driving on the roads in Virginia is just ridiculous. You can't, like, you hit a pothole you hit probably like 5 potholes in 1 mile. It's just, it's insane. Like, I felt like my tire was gonna fall off. In fact, one time my tire actually did fall off. Not exactly my tire, but the wheel, the AR, the axle, all that, it just fell off my car. Another thing that I noticed about Virginia is that I almost felt like a minority, and that's not a problem. It actually made me open my mind, because when I moved to Virginia, I didn't expect to be a minority. I've never been a minority. Living in Tennessee, you know, I was the majority. I was white, so, you know, it's mostly white people in Tennessee, whereas in Virginia it's mostly black people. You know, I wasn't used to that, and so moving to a place where I'm the minority really opened me up. I got to learn about, you know, almost a new culture, a whole new race, a whole new set of people. Of course, you know, I had black friends and I knew black people from Tennessee, but, you know, they were the minority. And I never understood that. I never felt that way. So, you know, that changed me. Moving on to Maryland. Granted, I've only lived in Maryland for about 4 months. However, I love the state of Maryland thus far. I really do. I love Maryland. It's almost like a mixture of Tennessee and Virginia put together with all the good things that you can pull out from Tennessee and Virginia and push together makes Maryland, and I love that. For example, there's so much to do here. It's such a beautiful state. Even though it's tiny, it's a beautiful state. I mean, I'm looking outside right now. There's green trees all around me, flowers everywhere. The air doesn't feel polluted. I don't know, I just love it. There's so much to do. You can go hiking, you can go to the beach, and then 10 miles away you can go into the city. I can go to Washington, D.C., or I can go to Baltimore, or I can go out in the country. I mean, I have all those options, and that is awesome. So, it's one thing that I love about Maryland. Another is that the education system in Maryland is amazing. They have a great education system, especially for those who are into like IT or, you know, health related, you know, any of that stuff. Johns Hopkins, for example, one of the top universities in the United States. They're great. You can get a great education at Johns Hopkins. Taxes are a lot higher in Maryland, you know, pretty similar to Tennessee because the taxes in Tennessee were extremely high. But, you know, the roads are better, the education system is just great. But my favorite thing about Maryland is the diversity. I'm not a majority, but I'm not a minority, and I get to learn about I get to learn about so many cultures in this one tiny state. Like, you know, I hear people speaking Chinese, Japanese, Spanish, Italian, French, I don't know, everything, all kinds of different types of accents, different types of races. I mean, there's tons of whites, blacks, Asians, Hispanics, Europeans, people who, you know, are from Africa, people who are from the Dominican Republic, Jamaica, all those places. Like, we're just all tied together as one. And the great thing about Maryland is that I don't feel any sort of racism. I don't feel any sort of entitlement. I don't feel any sort of pressure to be in a religious group. I don't feel like an outcast. I don't feel judged. I feel like in Maryland I'm more free to be myself, to really be who I am. And that is something that I'm not used to, obviously, being from Tennessee. You know, like I said, there's some things that I absolutely love about Tennessee. The education's not one of them, the religion's not one of them, sense of entitlement's not one of them. But, you know, when comparing the three actually, Maryland's gonna win hands down because they have everything basically that you need to raise a family. You know, you're very close to New York City. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you're 4 hours away from New York City. If you want to be into politics, you're 30 minutes away from Washington, D.C. If you want to enjoy the great outdoors, you know, it's right in your backyard. Like, Maryland is, I don't know, I love everything about it. I've read reviews online about Maryland. I don't know where these people came from, but, you know, they have a lot of bad stuff to say about Maryland. They say it's a very corrupt state. I don't see that. I haven't seen any of that. They say that the crime's bad, that it's very corrupt, but personally, you know, like I said, I only lived here for 4 months, but I haven't seen any of that. You know, and then when you compare places like California, Washington State, New York, obviously all those places are extremely different as well. My best friend was born and raised in California. She moved to Tennessee for 6-7 years. She just recently moved back to California, and she texted me and she was like, you know, it feels so great to be back. I'm so glad to be home. You know, when she moved to Tennessee, she was shocked, to say the least, by the education system. because she came in as a senior in high school, and she said that she was just shocked by how low the education seemed to be compared to California. Because in California, all the classes that Tennesseans were taking in high school, the Californians were taking in middle school. So when she came there, she felt like everyone was really behind as far as education in California goes. So, and I'd say it's probably about the same in the Northeast, because, you know, states like Maryland, New Jersey, New Hampshire, New York, Massachusetts, all those places, their education is very good. And so when you move to the Southeast, places like Louisiana, Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, some of those places, Mississippi, the education system's not as good. And that's disappointing, because, you know, I feel like the South has a lot to offer. I just kind of wanted to throw my opinion out there and explain to you how different the states actually are and how much culture and pride we actually have. Because sometimes I think we get knocked on a lot for, you know, lacking pride and things like that. Or not pride, we have a lot of pride, but culture, I think people, you know, don't think that we have culture, but we do have culture. And it's so different from state to state, and I just kind of wanted to put some examples out there, tell you what I think. Here's my opinions. Don't get mad. I know you will anyway, but whatever. So yeah, guys, that's it for today, and hopefully I'll see you next week. Bye.